Okay, hi everybody, it's Stephanie, the author. Update. Okay, so since we last saw each other, I have driven halfway across the country. Um, I kind of felt compelled to drive halfway across the country, so I drove halfway across the country. Let me hold this so I can grab myself because I'm very nervous to do this. But one of the things I've always been seeking is peace, and the ancestors have told me that I will have no peace until I do this. So I'm going to do this. And basically, this was originally Stephanie's Epiphanies channel, um, for me to share the epiphanies I've accumulated in life. And I wasn't really comfortable doing it. I really felt like my true epiphanies were way too deep for TikTok or the internet or a lot of the things that are seen on the internet. But the ancestors, okay, have told me that it is time. And I won't have any peace until I release this. So I'm going to release it. I'm currently in the land of my ancestors, and it has been very, very, very profound. Um, the main character of the novel, Mercy, I had mentioned before that there were some parallels between herself and I. And one of the main parallels is the empath part, because I am a very, very, very strong empath, and it makes things uncomfortable for me. So I spend a lot of my time in isolation. I'm going to try to address the camera, but I'm feeling very exposed, but I'm going to get this out. So I feel things very, very deeply. So that causes me to isolate a lot because it becomes overwhelming. It really does. I hadn't really learned to balance what were my true feelings and what were feelings I was absorbing, and separating me from the feelings I was absorbing. And those who know, as we degrade more in society, it's more difficult to be out and about in society. So I isolate more as I have gotten older, as opposed to isolating less. I've grown more uncomfortable in society. So the subject of this update today is going to be fear. I have a lot of epiphanies, but we're going to start with fear because fear is very important. Because as those who know, we live in a world of energies, frequencies. Okay, so fear is a frequency, and it is a frequency that's very prominent in our society, and that is deliberate. So a lot of times I isolate myself to keep myself away from that fear frequency because it is pervasive. And that's the first thing that we have to understand, is that is why all of media, everything is propagated towards fear. You're in fear of everything. You're in fear of when you're going to eat again. You're in fear of when you're going to have shelter again. You're in fear of when you're going to have enough money to take care of your kids. You're in fear of what if the foreigners invade. You're in fear of, as Black Americans, every day, everything. Okay? So that frequency is debilitating, and they know this. And it is the foundation and the cornerstone of their society. So we have to understand that it's just a frequency. And I'm going to make a lot of movie parallels, okay? Because that's really where they tell the truth in, like, movies, okay? So the movie that comes to mind, okay, that really told it the best on what we as a people need to collectively do to break free of this prison of fear that we've been placed in, is the movie Monsters, Inc. So if you don't have kids and you've never seen the Disney movie Monsters, Inc., go ahead and check it out, because basically the monsters fueled their society with the fear of children, okay? So fueling their society with the fear of children. And there's so many places I could end up rambling forever, really, really, really. But like, I am going to make spiritual references. I'm not going to quote any books or anything like that. If you've read the Bible, you know what's in the Bible and you know where to find it. Okay. So, but when you talk about like this whole myth, okay, I'm not a Christian, this myth of the Savior, Jesus, and how you have to get back basically to the mind of a child. Okay. So like, think of that when you think of using the fear of children to fuel their society. Okay? Because there are people here, and I unfortunately, fortunately, am one of them that are very childlike. We really, like, if I had my way, I would be living in a house like Snow White. I was actually thinking of that today as I was feeding the birds. In a garden where everyone lives together peacefully, like with respect for all life. That's the society we envision. That's the society we would thrive in, where there was no suffering, there was no fear, there was no insecurity, where everyone could just be happy and exist. Every living thing. Okay, so that's whose fear fuels their society. So your fear fuels their society. Okay. Because they don't generate, they degenerate. We regenerate. So our energy is what creates a reality. Our energy. So if we don't invest our energy of fear in their society, it can't sustain itself. Okay, so that's number one. Okay. So then, over the course of the movie, one of the monsters finds out that, hey, when I made this little kid laugh, I got like 10 times the energy that I got from their fear. But they can't harness that. It was more than they could contain. So they didn't want to live. They supposedly switched their society to joy, but they think that we'll be happy with them giving us crumbs and telling us how great we are. We have to get beyond the attaboy dopamine hit that we get when the society says, hey, you did a good job. So that's another video. I have a lot of epiphanies to share. I'm going to try to get to all of them because I want peace, and my ancestors told me I can't have any peace until I share. So I'm sharing. So we need to get back to that inner joy. And not let this outside environment dictate the energy that we output. Because when we output the energy of fear, it helps perpetuate the society of fear. Because only our energy creates. So, we're going to call that video number 1. It's kind of cool. I'm going to give a story, too. I'm going to give a story time. Story time. Okay, so like I was saying, I was feeding the birds this morning because I looked up. Okay, it's been really tough. It's been really tough since I left. Like, I'm literally earning my daily bread. I've slept in the truck. I've done all these things that I thought would be so easy to do. And that's one of the reasons why I've kind of stagnated on the novel itself. Because I wasn't able to really write in the library because the energy, I couldn't control the energy, and it was too distractive. And every time I had to go potty, I had to wrap up everything and take it with me to the bathroom. So it was just too much. So I wasn't progressing on writing. I'm still in the middle of New York, the first segment of the book. But the ancestors basically told me the novel, wasn't as important as the why, which is the information that I was planning on expressing through the novel, because I wasn't as comfortable, speaking directly. So I looked up on a little room. So this is what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be doing a lot of videos, sharing a lot of information, to buy myself the space to really explore the land of my ancestors, because they are very loud here. They're angry at what was done to the society they built, and they're sad that they didn't create something better. So that's where I'm at now. Another side note that I have to get out in this first video is, in addition to the fear, like with the imbalance of the climate and quote unquote climate change and all these things that they use to perpetuate this fear, while they perpetuate the issue, because everything here is alive. The ground we stand on is alive. And it's not just alive with the blood of our ancestors. The ground we stand on is a living being. She is alive. It is a feminine spirit. Okay? So when you think of how they have basically outlawed fruit-bearing trees, and the increase in allergies because of all of the pollen in the air that has nothing to pollinate, is basically the sexual assault of the planet. You're basically bombarding her with masculine energy, with nothing absorbing it but her. So that's basically what you're doing. And so, like anything, everything alive produces a hormone. Everything is an ecosystem. Everything is dependent on each other. So you can't eliminate things willy-nilly and not have an effect. It's not, it's not that simple. So by eliminating all of the fruit-bearing trees, we've created an overabundance of male testosterone hormone, which is one of the reasons why we have so much more violence, so much more anger, all of these things, because the male energy is out of balance. It's out of balance. So for the true revolutionaries who feel called upon in their spirit, if you're out in the wild, if you're out camping, if you're out anywhere, plant a fruit-bearing tree. Plant a fruit-bearing tree. A fruit-bearing tree. In my mind, I see like to the point where they'll have to pay people to seek them out and chop them down if they want to eliminate all the fruit-bearing trees. It would have to become a government job. That's how I see it in the future. And maybe the planet can find its balance back before it heaves us off of itself. So that's one video down. I'll see you in the next video. I'm not sure what I'll discuss. I wanted to do a video on the seventh sign. The seventh sign and the true meaning behind that as far as allyship in this time. So I'm still going to write the novel as soon as I get some space. But living out of the truck and earning my daily bread I can't focus on that. But I am going to try to continue to convey these messages. Well, I'm not going to try to. I'm going to do it because I told the ancestors I would. I'll continue to do these videos. So I'll see you in the next one, and I hope you continue to follow me on this journey. Thank you.